All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm really excited today to have Don Graves here with me. Don Graves is a housing wealth expert, and I met him a few weeks ago in Maryland at the Society of Certified Senior Advisor Conference, where Don gave I think maybe the best session that I attended, and I said I got to hook up with Don and have him share with my viewers what he shared with me. So Don, thank you so much for joining me here on the call today.
Thank you, Seb. Good to be here.
All right, so you are an expert in housing wealth, and specifically for older adults, people who are maybe 62 in your case or older, and you do that with reverse mortgages to some extent, and you have this really great explanation of the financial benefits of downsizing, and I'm wondering if you can share that with us today and show us how those numbers look and how it can impact the quality of your life in your later years.
Sure. Just by way of introduction, I'm Don Graves. I'm in my 26th year of doing reverse mortgages. That's all that I do. So, Seb, don't ask me about too many other things. But the reverse mortgage, one of the more strategic uses, particularly since 2009, is how do I move to my next, last, and best home and to restructure my retirement. So, I did a case study about taxes and retirement. I'm going to share my screen. And some of this is a little bit before the cart, before the horse. If your viewers would like to say, well, Don, how do I get kind of the backstory of this? I'll share with them where they can watch the full masterclass, if that'd be okay.
I agree.
Good. www.housingwealthmasterclass.com. www.housingwealthmasterclass.com. So that's about 47 minutes, start and stop, pause and rewind. But here we're talking about downsizing with the HECM for purchase, a new type of reverse mortgage that allows you to buy your next home with a down payment of 50 to 60%, sometimes a little more, and have no monthly mortgage payment. So the case study we did.
Oh, one second. HECM. What does HECM mean?
The home equity conversion mortgage. Home equity conversion mortgage. So when people hear the term reverse mortgage, that's a nickname. In 1961, the first reverse mortgage came into being. 1988 came under the auspices of the federal government, and the name was the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage, HECM. So when you hear that, that lets you know that's the federally insured reverse mortgage program that started in 1988.
Okay, perfect.
So in this example, and again, a little bit of the cart before the horse, a widow, they were kind of maximizing their taxes, step up in basis, all of this. So she stayed in the home until her husband passed, so they would get a full step up in basis in California. They sold their home, they paid off a mortgage, and they had about $1 million left over here in this example, about $1,050,000. And so she wants to buy a new home, but they've lived in the coastline in that area. Then they said, hey, we'll move inland. Maybe perhaps move to Arizona. So the price of their new home was $800,000. Well, here's an easy transaction. They have cash, $1 million. And I said to them, do you want to spend all your proceeds in brick and mortar? What happens if the home loses value? What happens if you need to get the money out down the road and you can't? So they did a HECM, a home equity conversion mortgage, nicknamed reverse mortgage, and it made available $340,000 of the $800,000. So her down payment, the widow, was $460,000. That's what she had to bring. Now remember, she had $1 million in proceeds. So of that $1 million, she brought $460,000, and she paid the down payment. She moved into her new home. Now, after it's all over, what has happened? She's got a new home. She's newer, closer to family. She has no monthly mortgage payment, and she's got $590,000 in cash to be able to repurpose to create a more sustainable and enjoyable retirement. That's how we move to our next, last, and best home using the reverse for purchase.
All right. So $590,000, and so that's all tax-free money because she enjoyed that stepped up in basis.
That's
And
correct.
so she would have invested that money in something. Are you a part of that? Do you suggest to people like where they put their money,
No,
or that's you have experts for that you refer out?
my little role is here on this page. What you do with your money, I said, well, do anything, but don't put it under the mattress. So consult your financial professional for the best way for you to liberate this $590,000 cash. But I don't want people to miss this, that the average retiree in America has less than $100,000 saved, but they have a ton of equity in their home. So the fastest growing way that reverse mortgages are being used is this reverse purchase, precisely because if you could add $100, $200, $500, $600,000 back to your retirement savings, would that make a significant difference? And for the average retiree, they would say absolutely. So I said, well, make sure you talk to Seb. Make sure you find out about if you can move to your next, last, and best home. And by doing that, increase your cash flow, reduce your expenses, and add new dollars back. Find out how to do that in a way that could really transform your retirement.
Right. Okay. So you buy this house for $800,000, and you put down 340. I'm sorry, you put down 460. Is that right? No, you put down 460, and so your loan is 340.
That's right. So your reverse mortgage loan, you borrowed 340. That's correct.
Okay. So how about like closing costs? Because I understand closing costs on a reverse mortgage are not insubstantial.
And I don't know how to draw on this screen. I would walk through that with you. Anytime, Dr. Wade Fowles, America's retirement researcher, said this, that anytime, and he wrote an article, Seb, and the closing costs were maybe $26,000. And someone wrote to him, oh my gosh, isn't that expensive? Isn't this terrible? And he said, I believe the benefit derived from any product plan or strategy should far outweigh the cost in doing it. And there are 52 retirement income strategies with the reverse mortgage. And the one he used, we showed the person who had $1 million at the onset of retirement, but 30 years later they had $4 million versus zero because they used the reverse mortgage in a strategic way. And so the question is, if I had $4 million in 30 years versus zero, is that good or bad? Is that better for my life and estate, inheritance, legacy? And so what were the costs associated with getting that? Well, out of pocket, it was $450. The finance closing costs on a reverse mortgage, there are three of them. And number one is if it's the federally insured reverse mortgage, which 98% are, there's what's called mortgage insurance premium, MIP. And that goes to the federal government for insuring the loan. That's 2% of the appraised value of the house. So for this, it'd be $16,000 on an $800,000 house. The second finance closing cost would be origination, how the lender gets paid, how me and my team, 200 folks in 49 states, how we get paid. Congress says what you can charge, $6,000. Any home that's over $400,000, the maximum is $6,000. And the third, final, is what's called standard closing costs, title insurance, notary, doc prep, recording fees, blah, 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 blah. That depends on what state you're in. California is fairly inexpensive. So that'd probably be around $3,000. So for this loan, what goes to HUD, $16,000. What goes to the lender, $4,000. What goes to for those other costs, probably about $3,000. So $23,000 are financed into the loan, not out of your pocket. The consumer would pay about $425 out of pocket, and that gets them into a situation like this. And so, Don, why would that be beneficial? I'm not sure that it always is. I would say the majority of the time it is, or I wouldn't do it. So the question is, if I was able, instead of putting all of my cash back into brick and mortar, if I'm liberating that cash and I've got nearly $600,000 to repurpose and reinvest to my portfolio, is that worthwhile? Does that reduce the amount of money I have to spend or draw from or live on? Because here's the truth. Retirement's going to last longer, be more expensive, and less predictable than anyone imagined. So it's better to have access to dollars and resources that can grow and function outside of being locked up in brick and mortar versus being locked inside. So we can prove this out mathematically, that this is probably going to be the best decision to keep your money working for you outside of the home and finance the closing costs of a reverse mortgage. So those are the three costs of every federally insured reverse mortgage. What goes to the federal government to insure the loan, what goes to the lender for originating the loan, and what goes for third-party closing costs, title insurance being the largest of those, which is typically regulated by the county of origin.
Okay, so so we're looking at 23 grand, let's just say, in this scenario for closing costs. And so, do people normally just pay that cash, or do they normally roll that into the purchase price?
It's rolled into the purchase price, which it is here. So this 340, we've already rolled in the reverse mortgage purchase price. Now some people will pay. I'm going to do my own reverse mortgage in about 3 years, and so my plan is to pay my own closing costs with some dead money, money I have in the mattress and a money market that's not really growing, and that's going to do some other things. There's 6 ways to structure the reverse purchase, and that's a whole workshop I do. But one of them is I want to create this growing line of credit that I have access to some dollars down the road. But that's not for today's fireside chat. That's for some other time.
Okay. And so I think one question people might have is like mortgage insurance. Why do I need like why is there mortgage insurance? Like what's the deal with that?
Mortgage insurance, because this is an FHA loan. Mr. and Mrs. Jones got a reverse mortgage in the year 2000, and they thought their house would be worth $1.2 million down the road. It wasn't. Home prices plummeted. Now they owe more than the value of their property. So their loan balance is this much, but their home value is here. They're upside down. So under normal circumstances, the lender can file a deficiency of judgment against the heirs or the estate. Maybe they have to sell other assets. But with an FHA insured reverse mortgage, that's the difference between 1961 and 1988. You're not going to be required to repay more than the home is worth, even if you owe more than the value of the home at the time that the loan becomes due and payable. Because of that, FHA, which is an insurance company of the federal government, so the mortgage insurance premium covers that and makes sure there's nothing taken against the heirs or the estate.
All right. Yeah, that's a very big bonus that people are not aware of. It's a non-recourse loan, right? So like if whatever happens, you're 95 years old, the market crashes, and then you owe 800 or whatever on a house that's worth 700. There's no risk to the family or anybody. But one other interesting thing is about the fact that I wasn't even aware of this myself until relatively recently, that the reverse mortgage, the HECM, is a line of credit. And so, or can be a line of credit. Can you explain how all that works and what the benefits are for like locking in that now versus locking it in 10 years from now?
Sure. And again, so there are 52 strategies to use this, and I teach for the American College of Financial Services. And so I'm going to see if I can bring this up and just give a quick example. Now, I may not because my system's acting a little finicky here, so if I can't. But let's the amount of money you get from a reverse mortgage is always based on 3 things. Triangle. Age of the youngest borrower, value of the property, and current interest rate. So let's take Fred and Wilma Flintstone. They've got a $1.2 million home and they don't have a mortgage on the property, but they're retiring and they've got some concerns. How long will my savings last? Will I be able to maintain my lifestyle? What about long-term care? What about legacy concerns? What will inflation or market volatility do? And they understand that it's better to have money than not need it, and than need money and not have it. So let's show so they got a reverse mortgage here on the screen here. And their reverse mortgage, Fred and Wilma Flintstone's $384,000. We see it up here in the corner. But it's a growing line of credit, which means if they don't use it, it's just sitting there. That at age 75, it's grown to 771. Let's go ahead to age 85, it's 1.5 million. My daddy's 95. Here it is, it's $3.1 million. So in addition to their income bucket, their investment bucket, their insurance bucket, which includes annuities and life insurance, you've got a 4th bucket that's now $2-3 million. So you say to folks, are you using all your available assets as you plan for retirement? And so I'm using my Social Security, pension, employment. I'm using my 401k, IRA, brokerage account. I'm using my annuities. I say, how are you using your housing wealth? Do you even know that you've got $2-3 million of potential equity, access to equity? What would that do for you? And that changes the conversation tremendously when we begin to explore that.
So you put up a big number there, $3 million, right? So I didn't see what it started at. It started at 750 or something like that. What did it start at?
It started 384,000.
384. So so you're telling me that a line of credit can grow from 384 to $3 million over a span of a couple of decades, or how long does it take to do that? Yeah, the three
That, that,
decades, 30
that's
years.
exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And I'm not saying it. The federal government, these are not my numbers. And so the home equity conversion mortgage, HECM, when someone inquires about that, there's some documents that go out required. One of the documents is to show the potential growth and projected growth of the line of credit. So this is not my doing. This comes from the the official documents of the reverse mortgage of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, FHA, and so that doesn't vary by lender. So it is a powerful tool when used appropriately.
So this doesn't matter how much your home goes up in value. It doesn't matter what happens to interest rates or anything. No matter what, your home is your line of credit is going to grow that much. Is that
The,
true or not true?
the line of credit grows by currently the 1 year Treasury bill plus the lender's margin. So currently it's growing at, here I have one just here. So at about 6.5%. So your home could go the opposite direction. Don, my home could lose value and this line of credit would still grow. I said, yes, ma'am, it would still grow. And what if my home really lost value? I said, well, it'd still be growing. And I show people like this because they can't believe it. I said, the growth of the line of credit is independent of the home's value. So it's not going to, let's go back. So here's an example of the growth of the reverse mortgage line of credit here. Did I share that? No, I didn't share it. Let's try it again. So here's this green line that says, hey, Don, my reverse mortgage line of credit is growing, but so is my home value. So I'm going to change one thing, Seb. I'm going to say, well, let's say things get really bad and your home value grows by minus 5%. So what happens? Doesn't matter. It didn't change your line of credit whatsoever. That didn't change. So Don, what happens if I've got a home that's worth $400,000? I've got a line of credit worth $2 million. I said, I can't tell you what to do, but what I would do is take mine out and put it under the mattress. That's it. And it says, well, I said, yeah, it's a non-recourse loan. There's mortgage insurance baked in. I would certainly not be living with the home that's going the other way, and I had $2 million in a line of credit. I would be using that for some other purpose. Now, and that
Right.
doesn't happen as much as it could, because in 2008, there's some changes began to be made in the federal government, so we wouldn't have this kind of homes being, line of credit being so much more than the home value. But it certainly happened after 2007 through 10, we saw that. So not so much these days.
Right. Okay. Well, that is very powerful. So I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about reverse mortgages and whatnot, and you're a great person to talk to get all that cleared up. What's the best way for people to reach out to you and discuss the particulars and the different scenarios that they might want to use for doing a HECM purchase?
Sure. Let me give you two resources. My email, askdongraves@gmail.com. That will get to my team, askdongraves@gmail.com. But for a deeper dive, go to www.housingwealthmasterclass.com. Housing Wealth Masterclass. You can stop, pause, rewind, go back, and you can see this. There are 3 segments. And I tell folks, just watch the first 7 minutes. HousingWealthMasterclass.com. Watch the first 7 minutes. At 7 minutes, there's an exit ramp. And you may say, well, this is not for me. I don't like this. Well, no harm, no foul. I haven't gotten anyone, no one's gotten off yet, but so watch the first 7 minutes. If you say, that's interesting, watch the next 20 minutes. There's another exit ramp. And you say, that's fascinating, then watch the rest. And then after that, if you say, hey, Don, I'd like to see what it could be, I've got Again, we're the clearinghouse. I've got a team. I work with the largest lender in the United States. I give leadership to a team of 200 folks in 49 states. So don't go to anybody else. Just circle back to us, and we'll give you the particulars. But get the concept down, because it can be a game changer for many.
All right, terrific. Okay, Don, thank you so very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I bet your phone's going to start ringing momentarily.
Thank you, Seth.